checking that I know how to turn this on, please?
Yeah.
Testing, you can do testing.
Oh, it's not. Sorry about that. Is this the one you work try?
Yeah. Check the system order.
Sorry. Is it on microphone 1?
Yeah. Just switching it off and back on.
Get another phone press, and it turns it completely off.
It was working before.
Yeah, I'm going to. Do you want to swap out the other mic?
Yeah, we might do that.
All right. Check it down there first. Yes, do that with that, then I don't have to worry about the microphone.
I think it'd be right because the approaches was about 11. 2, 3. Yeah.
40 years as an AV tech, and I should get this right, shouldn't I?
Well done. Where did you go with the...
Yeah.
Without sounding silly, but can you actually hear me at the back? If you can't hear me, wave. No, that's good. Sorry. You always go, can you hear me at the back? And if they can't hear you, they can't wave, can they?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this celebration of a wonderful lady who might have been a pocket rocket but lived life like a dynamo, and you'll hear some terrific stories, some of which you know, some you don't know. Now I'm here to tell you a bit of housekeeping stuff, of course. The most important probably are the powder rooms. There's one here, ladies only, as you came into the place, but down the corridor a few yards away, suites 86 and 87 are available for such use. Try to remember those numbers. There are signs to say you don't go into someone else's room. So the other mandatory thing is to make sure we have our phones off, please. Can we just check that? All right, thank you. Now we've got a smoking section out near the car park, but if people do spill over here, if they need a breath of fresh air and go outside, no smoking out there if you would be so kind, but just out the door where we came in for the smokers. And phones off, we've got really no summary of proceedings other than to say there'll be, how's that going? All working? Okay. We've got 3 people who'll talk today. That'll be Bruce, Libby and Jamie. I've only known him his lifetime, but anyway, sorry mate. But if all's in readiness, Bruce, can I call you up or do you want to have a break first? You want to come in? Going to play a song? Well, that's what we're waiting for. Is the song on?
My famous last words are laying around
bright shining sun would light up the way before me. You were the one, made me feel I could fly, and I love you. Whatever is waiting for me, if this is goodbye, if this is goodbye.
Who knows how long we got, or what we're made of? Who knows if there's a plan or not? There is our love. I know there is our love. My famous last words could never tell the story, spinning unheard in the dark of the sky. But I love you, and this is our glory. If this is goodbye, if this is goodbye, if this is goodbye, if this is goodbye.
we had a choice of balancing a successful career in Newcastle or taking a significant promotion and coming to Melbourne, and we opted for that latter. She was the ideal partner. She was a homemaker, an exceptional cook, a mother, gardener, nurse, animal custodian, fisherman, if that's the right word, and a farmer. I made an exceptionally good choice. She put up with me for 60 years, and even King Charles had to acknowledge that that was quite an achievement. Sue was at one with nature. You may recall that opening scene in the Julie Andrews movie. It's escaping me at the moment, but Sound of Music, and the Titanic, where they're sitting on the bowsprit of the thing. That was my Susie, whether it was the baths at Merewether, kayaking at Munkery near Newcastle or Dungog, the back beach at Rye, the high plains in Victoria, sailing on Lake Macquarie or Brighton or Blairgowrie, or fishing with her dad on a boat called Gladius. She was there, unkempt, with the wind blowing in her hair, and a sense of belonging. She laughed at, she taught me all I know about fishing, which is absolutely nothing. It's, Jamie would attest to that. She was, in a word, unpretentious. She really was. At an age when boys were noticing certain things about girls, I observed that she had the most beautiful hands. She put them to good use with an extraordinary creation, some of which we've got on the table over on the side there, with cross-stitch and knitting and that sort of thing, all beyond me. And she even made things for the shop that were made on a off. Whether it was mastering Asian food or traditional food or preparing boarding school food for me, in lamb's fry and brains and sausages and mash, she had it all covered with an ease that Gordon Ramsay would envy. Her pantry had every concoction known to man, most past their use-by dates. She knew the attributes of all the fish and actually loved prawns, and absolutely loved prawns. She could fillet fish, shuck oysters and shell and prawns quicker than anyone I've ever known. We always had meat and 3 veggies, usually with a glass of milk at home. That changed somewhat later on in life. She had a washing machine, a dryer, 2 ovens, a fryer, dishwasher, microwave, slow cooker, none of which I ever mastered, and she would like you to know that. It's, I'm learning very quickly. Other than, it's very hard to read over here. Other than swimming, she wasn't particularly into sport, although she did enjoy and she put up with the rugby, although no one puts up with the rugby anymore, it seems. And getting her to the gym was quite a task, and I can assure you. When she finished school, she worked as an anaesthetist assistant, but she wanted something more and started training as a nurse at Epworth when she was about 40, graduating at an age 42 or thereabouts, after Jamie and Wid were off our hands. She stayed with nursing or allied activities for the next 20 years until we bought Sport Phillip Marine. We still have most of her nursing notes ingrained in the dining room table because she never used to put anything underneath the biro, unfortunately. Sue loved our weekend escapes at Munkery in New South Wales and then Blairgowrie in Victoria. Our camping trips, particularly to Goobrigandra and Crower Jingalong and the High Plains, in the huts with her aunt and uncle. She followed them in other respects also when we acquired our farm, Merriweather Downs, in Rye. Sue ran that place as if she had been farming all her life, and named all the cattle and watched every calf being born like a midwife. I reckon we bred close to 500 calves in the time we were on the farm. She was born to farm. We love Merriweather Downs. But after 25 years or so, we decided to downsize and move here to Moona Links and Moona Links Golf Course. And so on. As I write this, which was a fortnight ago, she's yelling out, "How many phones have you lost by leaving them on the roof of the car?" And the answer's about 6. And it's actually 7, because the last one was yesterday. But I didn't lose it. We managed to find it. Our early days on Moona Links Golf Course saw us going for long walks with the dogs, and Sue's failing hips and feet would not allow that to continue. We never did get to the bottom of the reason for all of that, and so many medical people failed us along the way. But eventually she was diagnosed with what's called bulbar onset motor neurone disease, and that we're not too sure that she didn't have that for a lot longer than any of us realise. Just a few weeks ago, she was hyper salivating and asked me to call an ambulance, and she was taken to Rosebud Hospital in desperate need of a peg, which is a feeding tube into her stomach, or some other way of getting nourishment, because she couldn't take anything orally. So she was eventually admitted to Frankston Hospital, and she developed a pain in her chest, which was diagnosed as pancreatitis, and her blood sugar levels were all over the place. She was in no shape to have a peg. She wanted to go home. We promised to do that, but we failed. She was the third great granddaughter of Mary Matcham Pitt, who came to the colony as a widow with 6 children in 1801. They were very proud of the fact, the Pitts were very proud of the fact that they were related to Lord Nelson. She was in fact the second cousin, 5 times removed, of the husband of the first great aunt of Lord Nelson. She was also the second, George Matcham Pitt of Pitt, Son and Badgery, whom not everyone from Victoria probably has heard of, but was her second great-grandfather. And she was also the second cousin, 5 times removed, of William Pitt the Younger, who was the Prime Minister of Great Britain. Her grandfather, Nigel, was an architect, as was her father. Her grandfather was in partnership with Ted Merriweather in Newcastle. Our farm was named after him, as was a suburb of Newcastle. Nigel designed the Newcastle Art Gallery, the admin building at BHP Steelworks, and numerous hotels in the area. The last few years were pretty tough for her. But we absolutely loved looking after her, as she had looked after us for nigh on 60 years. We're to celebrate our 80th birthday this year in September. I hope she remembers. Sue would be humbled, as I am, by the number of you here to remember a remarkable girl and woman. She joins her mum and dad and sister Janet, who also died of MND, and leaves me, Elizabeth, or Wid, and Jamie, and 4 grand on a table down there, including the carnation, a bit decrepit now, but in a tobacco tin, the carnation that I had on my lapel when we were married. Thanks.
Would you now please welcome Elizabeth, Libby, or Wid, known by all three, the very special eldest daughter.
Snorting already. Let's see how this goes. Okay. So this is a speech I've never wanted to write. And under the murky and tear-stained veil of grief, finding the right words is even harder than I expected. My mother was christened Susan Elizabeth Bronte Pitt by her parents, Joan and Rowan. By the time she reached school, she was known as Sue Pitt. And at school, kids being kids, this was quickly rearranged to become Pooh Shit, which I believe she wore with pride. Nicknames are the norm in the Pitt family. Everyone has at least one or two. So she was one of the clan: Do, Dee Dee, Bar, Nigger, Dinny, Dubby, Pot, Dim, Rose, Sid, Pin, Blackie, Bilious. I am Wid, and Spencer is Boozy, and I know there are many others. Mum taught me how to cook. I remember finally mastering the dreaded roux. That's R-O-U-X, not our native animal. Making it free of lumps was necessary for a perfect cheese sauce. She also passed on to me the over-catering gene, which is one that compels you to prepare at least 4 times as much food as is required on every occasion. Her cooking was unique. She subscribed to magazine after magazine. She searched high and low for ingredients and whipped out curries, soufflés, chicken cooked in the shell of pastry, chili, squid, Italian, Indian, Greek, savoury, sweet. Those invited to dinner parties were treated to a spectacle and a culinary sensation ahead of its time. She taught me to knit. Keeping an even tension was such a challenge. To crochet, sew, garden, and she fostered in me a love of craft. More specifically, jewellery and beads, which continues to this day, much to Michael's pain, because I've got millions of them. I think I must have been absent on the days that Mum taught cleaning, ironing and tidying. At least I wasn't listening or taking any notes on those days anyway. Mum decided on a change of career, as Dad alluded to, when she began her nursing training at about, I've said 38, you say 40, we'll split the difference, 39. She had previously been a veterinary nurse for many years. She became a very capable cattle farmer at about 45 when Mum and Dad bought the farm, and a retailer at 55 at Sport Phillip Marine. She showed me how rewarding hard work is and that it's never too late to start something new. Mum showed me how to care for and love animals, and for a long time I wanted to be a veterinary nurse until I saw that there were a lot of unwanted animals being euthanised, which was very distressing for me at the time. Many dogs and cats joined our clan over the years and all were loved and treated well. More recently, Toby came along, a stubborn little Jack Russell who had Mum and Dad wrapped around his claws. Mum loved him and allowed him to get away with anything and everything. As the neighbours all too well know, and I'm still struggling to love him and his incessant barking. I'm surprised we can't hear him from here. So as far as Mum and Dad when they were young, I learnt recently that 15 and Dad wasn't the earliest that Mum had suitors. In fact, at about age 14, she hung out with a tall blonde boy called Laney, who owned a really good snorkel set. I'm not sure that hanging out with is the right term. She would meet up with him at Merriweather Beach, take his snorkel and spend the rest of the day snorkelling around the rock pools, seeing what she could find, and completely ignored poor Laney. The second fellow on the scene, John Danvers, well, his dad owned a game fishing boat. Mum spent all her time on the game fishing boat. She loved fishing, but again, it didn't go anywhere. The third and final, or the third time's a charm, Dad had neither a snorkel nor a fishing boat, but somehow kept her interested long enough to develop a deep connection and lifelong love. They were inseparable from the first, marrying, creating a family, moving to Melbourne from Newcastle, and always growing together and building a wealth of friends and experiences along the way. Camping, dress-ups, dinner parties, karaoke with the BHP crew, which consisted of a hairbrush as a microphone and a stereo one full to belt out Neil Diamond's Sweet Caroline, ba, ba, ba. There was no such thing as karaoke machine in the 80s. Some overseas travel and significant birthdays with their siblings. Just a funny story. During COVID, Dad became really unwell and was admitted to Frankston Hospital, taken by ambulance from the smaller, more local Rosebud Hospital, which I now refer to as a bus stop. Rosebud rang us to come into the hospital to see Dad before he went to Frankston, as he would not be able to see us in Frankston due to the rules around COVID. I picked up Mum and we raced up to the hospital. Mum spotted a couple going for a walk on the roadside just inside Moona Links and said to me, "Oh, can you just pull over here? I need to speak to these people." And I did. She wound down the window and in a flurry of words told them that Bruce was being taken by ambulance to Rosebud to Frankston for emergency surgery. The couple appeared incredibly sympathetic, asked Mum to give Dad their best wishes, etc. And as we pulled away from the curb, I said, "Mum, who was that?" And she said, "Buggered if I know." And on we went to the hospital. Mum loved her grandkids. She remembered their funny words as they were learning to speak and added them to her vocabulary. So the dogs became Dods, D-O-D-S. A bottom was a botin. Yogurt was Lodu. Avocado was avocado. There were so many. She remembered she loved spending time with them all. And I'm sure that Tom, Felix, Willem and Spencer will miss her greatly. Mum's last years and months were increasingly difficult. Her walking became a struggle, her speech slurred, and ultimately eating and swallowing was no longer a joy. So cruel for someone who found so much happiness in creating food. Her determination was huge. She did never complain, and she pushed her body to try and continue what she used to do. This was highlighted when we travelled to Mullumbimby in July last year to celebrate her brother Bill's significant birthday and connect with her sister Marg, sister-in-law Eve and brother-in-law Joseph. Family was so important to her. She was a warrior to the end. Mum tended to finish every phone call with, "Take it easy." So Mum, back at you. It's time to rest. I love you. We miss you already. Take it easy.
Love of my life, you've hurt me. You've broken my heart, and now you leave me. Love of my life, don't leave me. You've stolen my love, you now desert me. Love of my life, take it away from me, because you don't know what it means to me. You will remember when this is blown over and everything's on by the way. When I grow older, I will be there at your side to remind you how I still love you. I still love you. Hurry back, don't take it away from me, because you don't know what it means to me. Love of my life, you, yeah.
I forgot to ask you to sing along with Freddie Mercury, I think that was, wasn't it? That's a hard act to follow, Jamie. But see what you can do, my son. Come on.
Mum mate absolutely loved Freddie Mercury. So, first of all, thank you all for taking the time in your day to get down here and celebrate Mum's life with us. I also need to give thanks to all the support we've received. It was quite overwhelming. When I cry, I can't talk. I sound like a duck being squeezed underwater. My nose runs and I can't see. So Andy's here to hold my hand when that happens. I've really struggled to find the words that could possibly do justice to such an amazing woman. How can mere words explain the bond between a mother and son? The word eulogy is derived from the Greek word eulogia, Michael. It translates as a speech or a writing in praise of a person. So here goes. Mum really was gorgeous. She's absolutely gorgeous. She's a very attractive woman with a calming presence and a kind nature. She stood at only 4'11" and had the courage of a lion, or lioness. It was always family first with Mum. If you came between that 4'11" lioness and her children, you would not survive. She devoted her life to us. She made sacrifices and went without so we could have the best possible start to our lives. Raised on the beaches of Newcastle, she had salt water in her veins. We had many adventures exploring beaches, rivers and sailing on Lake Macquarie. After moving to Melbourne in my early teens, the Victorian high country became our new frontier and the adventures continued. We must have visited nearly every cattleman's hut, but sadly most have now succumbed to bushfires. After the purchase of a 50-acre property on the Mornington Peninsula, Mum found her true calling. You would have thought she'd been born and raised on that land. She was a natural. She loved her cattle, looked after them like children. Most of her breeding cows had names, and there was always tears when the calves were sent to market. Mum's battle with MND was never going to end well. We all knew that. Slowly being stripped of your physical abilities is how this disease wears you down. She fought a tough battle with this cruel, hideous disease, eventually took its toll. Mum died on the 14th of February, Valentine's Day. Was this irony or a fitting day to mark an end to my beautiful mother's life? Thank you very much.
That's it, if you get one more to play. I thought so.
I am sailing home again, across the sea. I am sailing stormy waters to be near you, to be free. I am flying, I am flying like a bird across the sky. I am flying, passing high clouds to be near you, to be free. Can you hear me? Can you hear me through the dark night, far away? I am dying, forever crying, to be with you,
Thank you very much. Thank you everybody to share in this lovely tribute to a special woman. We'll be, everyone's invited of course to stay for afternoon tea and refreshments and drinks and things. Might take a while to get organised, and I'm not sure whether they bring it to us or whether we rearrange the seats yet, but that'll be told to me in a minute. So please stay around, get together with your friends, sit around, rearrange the seats yourself and sit, have a drink and something to eat. Thank you all for attending.